Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee Talkie Show, the podcast for women living abroad.
And today I want to ask you, are you feeling homesick? If you're living abroad, that's really normal and natural, and you're not alone. So today we're going to dig deep into this homesickness. And
we felt it for so long in so many situations, and we have a lot to tell you about it. So
absolutely.
We invite you to grab your coffee, maybe a notebook, and
maybe some tissues.
And maybe some tissues. It might get vulnerable today, and let's start.
So thank you again for joining us on the podcast. And like we said before, if you're living abroad and you're feeling homesick, then this episode is for you.
Yes, because there is a very natural sensation when we live abroad, especially when we are far from our family. But actually, if we have to be 100% honest with you, feeling homesick is not always only about the family. It's bigger than that. It's this sensation of home. And we had another episode about what makes a place homey for us. But when we feel this homesick, it's a mix of so many emotions and so many sensations and thoughts all together, all combined.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we say homesick, it's like this big word, but actually you miss all the things that made you feel at home.
Yeah.
So you mentioned family and parents. That's usually a big thing, a big issue when moving abroad and leaving family behind. But it's also friends, good friends, and your job sometimes, your house, the way you used to work.
Yeah, it's also traditions and everything. And it's funny because this is like, we're talking here, it's not live, we're editing it, but still like it's a live conversation. So whatever comes to our mind, this is what we share with you. This is the beauty of the Coffee Talkie Show. And the first thing that comes to my mind right now is my life in Dublin. What is it? 15 years ago now? Ooh.
You're getting old.
I'm getting old. Exactly at this time of the year, because it was Passover. So I went to live in Dublin as a student for 6 months, and it was Passover. And I decided not to go back to Paris to be with the family because I only went for 6 months, so it felt like too much to come back, and I think I think the studies ended in like a couple of weeks, so it was, but I had this feeling of homesick. I knew that my entire family is going to be together on Passover. Now I have to tell you, very honest moment right now, I do not like this holiday. Like, this is one of them. But there was still this sensation of probably the first time as an adult being far from the family at this time of the year. And I remember feeling really, really homesick. And I really missed, I was like, my entire family is going to be together. I think you didn't came from,
no,
I'm not
I don't think so. But you mentioned a feeling.
Yeah, it was a feeling.
You wanted to be part of something, feeling. It wasn't about the holidays. It was about being with family, having a dinner. We have high energy in our family when we have those dinners, and this is what you missed. It wasn't the holiday. It was this feeling of together.
And actually, it was even more than that, because I really remember being like, but I missed the preparation before. And the fact that like the house is, we were cooking and there are smells of food, and like, you gotta know, I was a student in Dublin. The only smell that we had of food was probably fried something in the oven and noodles. Like, that's what we had. So like, I miss the smell
Do you fry things in the oven? You gotta learn how to cook. I'm sorry.
No,
you
like,
don't fry.
yes, put nuggets on the
And it's not fried.
but
Never
they're
mind.
like crunchy thingy. Anyway, you got it. But yeah, and you know, we shared it, I think, on the podcast that we had about what makes a home, and we invited you to think of your senses, because when you put in your senses, then things become more homey. But then homesick is also about those 5 senses.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I really remember it, like missing the smell inside the house, and missing the fun, missing what I hear, a lot of laughter, missing the hugs and the coziness of the thing. And yeah, so it's very homesick.
It's interesting that you mentioned the holiday. You talked about Passover, but usually we hear so many women talking about homesickness when it's the holidays, around Christmas, for example, or Easter, or New Year's, or when it's time for family, and it involves a lot of emotions and feelings and smells and fun and tastes, and this is what makes us feeling homesick.
When do you have like an image in mind of you feeling homesick?
I tried to think about it yesterday. Around the holidays, am I feeling now homesick because of the holiday? And honestly, I'm not. It's not a feeling that I miss right now. It feels weird because I feel like I need to feel homesick around this time, but I don't. Not around the holiday. And to be honest, I don't feel homesick. When I look back at my life in Israel, it's not that I don't miss it, or my friends, or it's not that I don't miss it, but I don't feel homesick. It's a much deeper feeling, and so right now, I don't find myself sitting and wondering, going back and remembering things that made me feel good. I don't do that now. I did when I lived in Israel.
That was my next question. So now regarding Israel, you're not feeling homesick, but did you had years, because you spent over 12 years, I think, maybe even
12 13,
years in Israel, far from your family, far from like another lifestyle that you had.
I wanted to live in France. That's one of the reasons that I live in France right now. And I remember I felt at home when I arrived to France to visit. Okay, as a tourist, when I came to visit you, I felt at home whenever I came to France. And I had such a hard time leaving France every time to go back home.
Yeah.
And that's really confusing because you don't feel at home. At home, you feel at home when you're traveling, and then you're homesick of a place that is not your home. So it's a bit more complex, maybe. But I do remember I missed the weather. Whenever it got hot in Israel, and it's most of the year, I felt homesick of the rain and the gray sky. And actually it helps me appreciate today when I live here, I spent the weekend in Paris with the gray sky and the rain in April, and I was walking in the street, with the rain on my face, and I loved it. And I remember why I loved it, because I had this huge feeling of homesickness when I didn't live here.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that's what we said before, homesickness is a mix of so many emotions, but it's a mix of all the senses. And I'm wondering, and if you feel like it, just type it in a comment, whether you're listening it on the podcast or send us a message in private. We want to know, how do you feel homesick? Where does it come to you? Is it a sensation, a physical thing? Is it only a thought? Is it an emotion that comes in? Because feeling homesick is a big thing.
Yeah, and I think there is a difference, and I touched it before, between missing something and feeling homesick. It's like you miss something. It's also, it can be emotional, but it's also, logic a little bit. Like you miss, I don't know.
You miss a lot of things.
You miss a friend, okay? So yeah, it's an emotion as well, but it's also, you miss this person. And by the way, when you're going into this, why do I miss this person? And you remember the conversation that you used to have, and how you used to go to have drinks together, and the laughter, and you add more emotion to it, then you might feel homesick.
Actually, I want to highlight something again. Comes very naturally. This is part of like our conversation. Just the word homesick, then it means it makes you sick. So it's like if it's this term, it can never be something good.
Yeah.
Because if you feel sick, like none of you, and I can only imagine, I know that if there's one thing I do not like is being sick. And just the idea of being sick makes me not good. So I'm thinking,
I find it quite natural that we call it homesick, because when you have those feelings, and it's so deep, you can become sick of it.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, if you remember, and this is really interesting because it happened to you many times, and it happened to me a couple as well. Whenever we would go to visit our parents, we got sick.
Yeah.
Really, really sick.
Mm.
It is like you release the tension of
I need to suck it up.
Yeah, I need to make it happen. I need to make it work. I cannot be sick far from our parents, whatever. And no matter when you release all the tension, we really got sick.
Mm.
We got homesick.
But that's like on the other.
No, but maybe like this was our way of doing things, because we didn't allow ourselves to feel it strongly when we were on our own.
So I think maybe for us it was a little bit twisted, because home was and still is like a term that we don't really use right now, because it's so complex, and home is nowhere and everywhere, and I felt at home last week in Madrid, okay? So,
I know, I love, home is wherever I am.
So it's not about that, but I suppose that many of you listening right now are living abroad and feeling homesick, and sometimes feeling really, really not good, not well, physically and emotionally and mentally.
That's why I said, like, if you attach to it the word sick, then it's a physical thing. It's not.
And then they go home and they do feel great. I see so many people going to visit home and they feel great. And just the idea of having to go back to the country you live in right now that you don't call home. And that's another problem. Then we have another episode about acceptance of
of the place where you are
living. But when just the idea of coming back to a place that you right now live in but you don't feel at home can make you feel sick. That's heavy.
And like, the reason why we bring up those subjects here on our podcast is because we want to tell you, like, it's normal.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. So many women like you are dealing with exactly the same things. And it's important that you acknowledge that it is part of this expat experience and you should not fight it.
Yeah.
But you can think of ways, and we can maybe think with you right now as we go, of ways to make it feel less traumatizing or sad, or like less negative for you, so you deal with it better. Because again, probably if you had a good life in another country, if your family is there, if your friends are there, if you loved the lifestyle and the tradition and the culture and even if you didn't love everything, but you loved it, whenever you're going to move to another country, you're going to miss a couple of things. And as we said, like, homesick is kind of missing on a higher level, because it's not only that you're missing, but
much more emotions.
With much more emotion, and I think it's physiological. So it's not only because when you miss things, usually it's in our brain, right? It's like you're missing it, and it's like, ooh, it's gonna be fun, or like the same way as you miss, like, ooh, remember this like breakfast that we had, and like you can miss things, but it's in your head, right? And I think homesick makes it something embodied. It's your body missing it. So it's much stronger, and then we feel it in higher levels, higher volume, and then it's harder to deal with.
Yeah. And again, let's normalize this. It is hard. It is hard feelings. And it's not nice to be in this situation. And it's okay if you're feeling this way right now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of the situation. I think it was on one of our Real Expat Talk that I had this conversation with this lady, and she said that there was a big gap between her and her partner, because basically they met in her home country, but he was an expat, and then they moved to his home country, and she was then an expat. And when she was homesick, he couldn't understand because he was at home. And he didn't feel that much homesick when they were in her country, because he wasn't in an adventure kind of mood. So he didn't, like, the homesickness didn't kick in. It was like the excitement and the adventure and the travel and and he couldn't understand. He couldn't relate to what she was dealing with. And she felt so alone in her feelings, because the partner, the one person that she wanted to understand her more than anything, couldn't. And if you relate to this right now, we want to tell you, like, that's the importance of surrounding yourself with people that do understand, because every single one of us experienced it in another level. We don't say we experience it the same way. We're different people, but we know deeply. We remember the feelings. Like, I have so many examples of moments that I felt homesick. And again, you said it beautifully. Our definition of home is maybe completely twisted for so many reasons, but I still missed on another level things like lifestyles and weather and friends, family, traditions, situations, feelings, sensations, smells, all of that. And I remember it in Dublin. I remember it in the UK when I lived there. I remember it in Israel for many years. Then I remember it when I went to the US for 3 months, and I was like, this is like something's missing, and you don't even know what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's all, we touched a little bit about, we talked about acceptance a little bit. So when you're not accepting that you live in a new country and this is your home now, then the feeling of homesickness to another country is even bigger.
Yeah.
So it's a lot about the meaning that you give to the situation. And if you're living in some place and you know or you think it's for a year or two, so you don't call it home, and your home is not the place you're in, so it's much easier to go into feeling homesick because you're not home. Whether if you're calling your place a home, then there's no point in feeling homesick because you're at home.
Yeah.
And I know, and I know that it might sound really hard to call a place a home when you're not feeling that it's a home, But that's something you can create and work on to feel at home wherever you are.
Yeah. And if you have like this sensation, then we really recommend you going and listening to this other episode that we've done on how to make a home so you feel at home no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot about the sensations. But I want us to try and think, be creative here right now. We didn't plan it. How can we feel better if right now we are being hit by this massive wave of homesickness?
Yeah. So first, I think it's okay to acknowledge and to say, okay, I feel homesick because I miss and I miss the feeling of, I miss the taste of all the senses. Go over all the senses and, be honest with yourself. What is it that makes you feel homesick? I think that's the first step for everything that we say here is be honest with yourself. What's happening? What's happening? Because sometimes it can be confusing,
Yeah.
Maybe I'm angry, maybe I'm frustrated, maybe I'm sad, or maybe I'm just homesick.
Yeah. And I will add to this. So the second thing would be, what emotion does it evoke? Maybe a couple of them actually, because it's up to you to decide what emotion it evokes, right? Like something naturally will come, but you can decide if this is the thing or if you want something else. Because you can be homesick and it can create excitement for you.
Or even enjoy.
Or enjoy it and be like, hey, that's so nice to think about.
Or, some gratitude.
So gratitude. And it can lead you also to sadness and anger and regret and guilt and all of those things. So I think the deeper meaning of being super honest with yourself is also understand like what type of emotion does it bring up.
Yeah, I love it. And I'll go further and I'll go back to this acceptance of the new place you're in and understanding that this is your home now and it's important for you to call it a home. And that's okay to have, to feel at home in several places around the globe. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Who said that home has to be in one country or one city? It doesn't make any sense to us, at least.
One house.
And so go back. Don't ignore the fact that you're feeling homesick. That's totally fine. Okay? So, but you can see it. I'm feeling homesick right now. I miss this and this and that. It makes me feel, like Gal just said, this and this and that. But I do have a home now, here, as well. It's not this or that. It's not, I'm not at home, so I'm like a nomad in the galaxy. It's not about that. You have a home. You created yourself a home. So remember that. Go back to your home right now. This one right now. We said a lot and it's a bit cliche. Your life is now. It's not what happened in the past. It's not what will happen in the future. Maybe you will go back to this country that you call home. Maybe you'll go to another country. You don't know. Maybe you'll stay right where you are right now. Right now, where is your home?
Yeah.
And then create feelings of a home.
Okay, so that was my next bit is, what sensations do you miss? Like if you take your 5 senses and what is it that makes it homesick? Is it, as we said, like, is it the weather, the feeling of like being in a sensation of like temperature and stuff like that? Is it the smell? Is it the touch? Is it the laughter? Is it like, what do you miss? And then what can you do right now to create similar, it's not the same, similar things?
Yeah, I'm about to be, the nudge one and say, maybe you're saying right now, yeah, but what if I miss a hug from my mom. I can't do that here. What if this is what makes me feel at home? Or, a drink with my bestie. Or...
So I want to tell you.
I love sunshine and the sea, and I live in Norway.
Okay, so I'll tell you. A drink with your bestie. There's this amazing thing these days called Zoom. And you can have a drink with your bestie no matter where you live. And I do it quite a lot. It's not the same. I don't say it will do the same effect, but it is similar enough to create it.
To create the feeling.
The feeling of it. And sunshine in if you're living in Norway and it's winter, more challenging, but we love to say challenges as opportunities. I want to tell you, put on music that makes you feel like you're in a sunny place. Put on a video on YouTube that makes you feel like you're in a sunny place.
Go to a sauna.
Go to there are things that makes you feel like you're on a warmer place. And I can tell you this on the other side. I've done it this winter to test the thing. It's crazy. I turn on a fireplace on my TV in my living room. I do not have a fireplace, and it felt warmer. The sound of the fire cracking. This is how our brain works, right? We don't need reality. We need to feel it.
Oh, that's a good one. We don't need reality. We need to feel it. I love it.
And I can share with you, remember I said before this Dublin Passover situation, and what I missed was the smell of food. And
I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now
for
tomorrow.
No, don't. I do not have it anymore. It's funny for eaters,
you're gonna eat the soup.
No. But I remember feeling this homesick and I really remember sitting down and being like, but what is it that I miss right now that is embodied? And so it was the smell, it was the laughter of our family, because we are a very high vibe family when we sit all together. And it was making it our own. We never celebrate Passover the traditional way. We always twist it and change it. And I was like, if this is the case, then guess what? It was the first Passover that I hosted in Dublin with a bunch of students, no Jews. I was the only one. And I was like, guess what, guys? It's dinner time. I'm going to do everyone, because we're students, right? So we didn't have proper tables, neither plates, neither anything. And I was like, everyone needs to bring their own table and plates and stuff, and we will patch it up. And I will cook, because I wanted the smell during the entire day. And I remember calling mom and our grandma to be like, hey, what do we do? How do we do it? And it didn't taste the same. I can guarantee that.
I love your honesty.
It didn't taste the same. It didn't smell the same, but it smelled something. I had it.
Burnt.
And I was like, I'm going to explain to strangers, they were friends, but to people that have never done this, my vision and my family vision of Passover, to a bunch of people that looked at me like I'm a weirdo. And it made me laugh. So I got the sensations, even though I was not home, not with my family, not doing it a certain way. But I made sure I fill up. That's why I said it's not the same, but it's similar.
And honestly, there are things you can't replace.
No.
And they will never feel the same. Like the hug of your mom, for example. I remember for years, I missed this, It's not talking to our mother. It's about, being close to someone that you really love, and have a physical connection. And I couldn't have that. And honest moment here, very vulnerable. I tried to replace it and find it in other people, like other moms, and I tried aunts and my mother-in-law. It didn't work out. It didn't. There are things you need to understand that they're not replaceable. You'll never have the same feeling in someone else, and that's fine. And you know what you can do for that, for those moments that you can't replace? Communicate it. Say it. Make your mom know that this is how you feel. Make your friend know that this is how you feel. And let them say to you back. And then you'll get the feeling.
Yeah. And more than that, next time you have the opportunity, then really cherish it. Because one of the things that happens to us is that we miss things and we say like, this is what I miss right now. But then we actually have the opportunity to sit with those people, to hug them, to tell them things. And for some weird reasons, we do not do that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we don't appreciate it. So actually when you understand that you have those things, moments, people in your life that you miss and you attach a feeling to it, making you homesick. Well, next time that you get a chance to do those, meet those people, be with those people, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Live the moment fully, and embrace the feeling, knowing that this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
This is what you longed for.
Yeah. And Mom, we know you're hearing this. She's our biggest supporter. She's listening to all of our episodes. Next time we see you, we want a hug.
She hugs us a lot.
That's what we want.
And we do miss you right now,
Yeah.
We know that she's abroad right now. And we miss you. And we love you.
Yeah. We love you so much. And sometimes all we want is a hug. Because there are things that you cannot replace.
Yeah.
And a mom's hug is one of them. That's for sure. Like,
no. I tried to find similar things that it doesn't work the same. It's like,
no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those things about feeling homesick is about finding things that can be similar enough so you can keep on going when you feel this way. Understand that it's normal. First, understand that it's normal. That's the base. That you're not alone. Try and find things that can make you feel similar, even if they are not the same.
Yeah.
And for those things that you cannot replace, remember them, communicate them, and the next time you have the opportunity to do them, then cherish them fully. And I'll add to this, that remember, our brain doesn't need reality, we need the feeling. And for some people, we just cannot have those things we miss anymore for all various reasons.
Yeah.
So sit down and imagine them vividly.
And then you'll feel it.
And then you'll feel it.
For sure. Your body will feel it. And I wanted just to add a little something. When we're trying to do things that will make us feel the same way, it's not about replacing. It's about recreating this feeling. You're not replacing the time you spend with your best friend. You're not replacing your favorite food. You're not replacing a family holiday. You're not replacing. You're just recreating the feeling so that you feel what you wanted to feel. And that's very personal, Every one of us wants to feel something else, and we feel homesick for different reasons and different feelings. And so it's not about replacing, but recreating a feeling.
Yeah.
I need another coffee. What about you?
Probably gonna have one. I hope it was relatable to you, and that if you feel homesick, it made you feel like there are two crazy ladies that understand what you're going through. and that you can reach out to us. Because if you feel like it, please reach out to us. We're here for you, and we want to make sure that you're okay within your emotions, within your feelings right now, and you're gonna keep on going.
Oh, we want you to feel more than okay. We want you to feel good, you know? That's okay to say that. We want you to feel good with your life abroad, and we do understand that homesickness is common and natural and normal. That's normal.
Yeah.
But that's okay. There are things you can do to make you feel better. We talked a lot about feelings today. It's totally fine if it was too much for you. Go for a walk, go for a run, do something to let it all out, and come back. I really hope you had some notes, took some notes, and that you find our content valuable today.
Yeah. So if you liked it, like, rate, review, share, comment, subscribe here on the podcast, no matter which platform you are on. And we really look forward seeing you on our next episode. Have a wonderful day.